General viewing.
I'm getting a hold of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Captain of Industry. I'm Rocky Kamoy. And guess what we're doing today? We are doing a sport called paddle. All right? Quite interesting, like tennis, a combination of tennis and other, this kind of sport. I'm just learning. But guess who the expert today is? Wanjiru, Gichuru, the CEO of Pergamon Investment Bank. Thank you very much for making time to speak to Captain of Industry. I mean, quite an interesting sport. How did you land here? How did you land into paddle?
So like you said, paddle is 3 racket sport. So tennis, badminton, and squash. How did I get myself here? I used to play tennis in high school. Obviously took a break. Late last year, I decided I wanted to go back into sports, and paddle seemed like the new thing to do. Okay. So that's why I'm here, and I love it.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
While we're doing a little bit of warm-up here and there as you teach me the game, you talked about strategy. I don't know, does sport sort of turn something on your brain in regards to you as a person, you as a leader, as a CEO? Are there parallels, these two worlds?
No, 100% there are. Sports obviously inclines to discipline. So if you find that anybody who's in sports and it speaks into leadership, you must have discipline. If you look at paddle and how it employs with my work, it's mainly a game of strategy. So paddle is played mostly as doubles. So you have to work in partnership with your partner, and you also have to have strategy as to how you're going to win against your opponents. So it definitely then influences into my job.
No, that's interesting, because right now we'll say that you are at the pinnacle when it comes, when you hold the title CEO, everyone looks up to you, the organization. But for starters, talking about strategy, I mean, some people start pretty young. You can see that I am playing football nicely, I can become a footballer. In the world of finance and investment, when does this interest begin for you?
When did it begin for me? Probably we're going on 26 years now that I've been in the industry. And it was not an overnight success that happened. It was growing right from being an intern into the different positions that I led up to where I am right now. So, it's speaking about building the blocks, learning from day one, going up to the leadership position. And in an organization, what I tend to then see is it speaks again to the teamwork that I talked about. The infrastructure and the backbone of any institution really is the people. So you must employ how you work with your team, how you collaborate with them, and that really defines how you are as a leader. So for me, leadership is actually working with your people more than anything.
Okay. People-centered. We are told there are different types of leadership. One that is most popular is servant leadership. I don't know, for you, since you say people are the core of each and every organization, how would you describe your style of leadership?
I would say that it's a more let's do together type of leadership. It's an opportunity for you to learn. We're constantly learning, even as a leader. You're learning more about yourself, you're learning about your people. So it's about walking the journey together. Yeah.
Okay. Learning, I think that's where the adage, iron sharpens iron, comes in.
Correct.
And I think, generally in life, when you do life with other people, you tend to benefit more because you get to learn. coming into the industry, you say 26 years now, starting off as an intern. What do you think was your biggest influence into this world of investment and finance?
Well, maybe we'll start off by looking at, the Wolf of Wall Street. And I'm sure everybody has seen, we see New York, the stock exchange, and I really wondered how to work with numbers. I'm a person for numbers. I love numbers. Mm-hmm. So that really inspired me to get into the industry. Along the way, there have been many people who've inspired how I have then built on my career. We have a few women in leadership who are here. Rena Hicks from FAIDA. We have Rebecca Tiba, who actually was a mentor of mine for a very long time. She brought me and held my hand literally into the industry. So I've seen how they've grown along the years, and they have actually helped me in terms of how I've also been able to grow Pergamon.
Okay. That's quite interesting. Having somebody to hold your hand, it's quite an interesting experience, because they have to teach you. They also have to love on you at the same time, sort of not to break you, but to harden you. 26 years in the game, a lot has changed. I mean, we're just chatting, and you reminisced back in 2006, 2007, at the height of IPOs in this country. You are dealing with Kenya. Take us back to that particular moment. You say it was quite pivotal for you.
Right. So I think a lot has changed since the Kenyan IPO in terms of even the systems. A lot has been digitalized since then. The market has grown in terms of awareness, investor awareness, so that's good. In terms of participation, there's also been an opening up of investors who are coming in, both from a local perspective and a foreign perspective. So if you look at the shift of dynamics now, present day, for instance, if you take the KPC IPO that's running right now, everything is digital. Everything is online, so that means there's seamless application of the IPO. So a lot has really changed since.
What is the process initially in 2006, 2007? What is the process like?
It was very manual. Actually, we used to open accounts literally on paper, so it was a very paper-based process. And even settlements, I'm sure you saw during the Safaricom IPO time, the getting of refunds, the applications. It was very tedious, as opposed to now, where in 5 minutes you basically have done your application, you've done your payments, and we're sure that when it comes to the time for the refunds, if any, the process again will be quite seamless, because you're able to either be paid through M-Pesa or you get your refund through your bank account. Everything has been lodged into the system, so we're not waiting for you to come and tell us, okay, fill another form for us to be able to refund you your money.
Yes. So the world actually at large has gone paperless, which is quite interesting. That convenience, most of the times, is associated with young people, but essentially technology moves at the end of the day. Do you think that shift and the technological revolution that we are undergoing right now, it's sort of an impetus, sort of a push that has made investment very accessible, and in turn we are seeing more people coming into this space that initially, in the tedious space, they wouldn't even have considered?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because what do we see with technology? One, there's creation of access and access of data and information. And with information, then you're powerful. You're empowered to make decisions. And that's what we're seeing happening in the market. You have exposure to the markets in Hong Kong. You have exposure the same way to a market in Kenya. So definitely the access of information has helped through digitalization and innovation in technology. Now, then when it comes to the actual transactions, again, if you're having systems that are working rapidly, it means that the end-to-end user is satisfied by that seamless process. If you speak about the Gen Zs want things to happen real quick. It's a fast market. So you want to open your account in 5 minutes, you want to have traded in the next 5 minutes. So definitely technology has played a big part in us helping and seeing the acceleration of market access currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, away from markets, let's head back to your childhood, growing up. Where did you grow up? How was life like back in the day? And just to slip in a point, sometimes I go to my Orchard town, and I'm like, this place has really changed. Yeah, I'm really growing old. How is it like growing up? Where did you grow up?
So I'm a Nairobi-born girl.
Okay.
Yes, born to a family of 3 girls. So, and you can imagine I'm a middle child. So always fighting for space.
Yeah,
I think that's why we like this court.
Uh.
It's always been competitive.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So born and bred Nairobi, and educated here, and then I went into the market here. So pretty much have been in Nairobi.
That's quite interesting. Sisters, 3 of you. Quite interesting. Because, in our charts, you are a mother of a teenager right now, which is beautiful. We talk about parenting, and parenting sort of one of the most pivotal, if not the most pivotal things that any adult graduates into. For you, the way you grew up and now you are a mother, do you see a difference in raising the current generation vis-a-vis how you were raised, and how is that like?
Well, first let me say, and it might sound like a cliche, but my mother really impacted in terms of how I grew up. So it's very important for me to also impact in terms of how my daughter is and shaping her life. But then is there a difference in time? 100% there is. I think now, just going back to your previous question, we're seeing technology has made the world flat, where our kids are exposed to more in terms of information, and so are we. So you grow up being very critical and very, can I call it, intent on how you're raising your children and what they're doing, what they're exposed to. And you pray that they'll just turn out to be the best human, because ultimately that's what you're looking for. To raise a kind and warm human being. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. The other time we were walking somewhere with a friend of mine, and I think a 5-year-old was talking about, the dollars, and we started laughing. We were like, at 5, what were we doing? We were playing with mud, being creative out there. Times have really changed indeed. And now, in the space of being a leader, you're seeing the workforce also that is coming in is quite young. The average age of the continent, and Kenya to be specific, is around 19 years. And Africa is the future of global workforce. And we've had that discussion on social media. We've seen the way people say, oh, Gen Zs, they are zero chills, they don't bow down to the bosses like, hey, Igwe, the way millennials do. Talk to me about how young is Pergamon in terms of the people that, the pieces that are making the wheel move? And is there a difference in terms of stewardship, the way you steward younger people compared maybe to people who are slightly older millennials and the older generation?
Okay. I'll speak to 2 things that you've mentioned there. One, the can I call it age of the workforce?
Yes.
And 2, the fact that we're pushing an African agenda, a Pan-African agenda. Those are 2 critical things that are very institute for Pergamon. Now, we do have a lot of our workforce that is young. And what does this mean? You have to, like I said earlier, you have to learn from them. You have to give them the space to grow. And you have to give them the space to actually explore and exploit their ideas. Maybe the word exploit is not...
Explore the idea, yeah, definitely.
Explore the idea.
Yes.
Right, so we're seeing them, and they're bringing actually ideas that are workable. They are telling us what is actually on ground, what is needed and required. So we definitely think it's good. In terms of the Pan-African growth, Pergamon is aligned with going the Pan-African route, and in terms of opening up the world to Africa and opening Africa out to the world. I think we're seeing that this is going to be the next big place. It already is, actually. And
when you look at, I look at FDIs and whatnot. That number is growing globally. But still, there's this argument. I mean, Africa is getting just a small portion of it. You are in that space where you are looking at this inflows and the interest in the African market, and vis-a-vis otherwise, because South Africans are like, invest for me somewhere in Europe and whatnot. What do you think needs to happen or is happening to change that narrative to make this an even more attractive space for global investors?
Okay. So what I think an investor, like you said, the DFIs will be looking at is the risk that comes with investing in any area. Africa, if you look at return from a return perspective, is still one of the most high giving in terms of return.
Okay.
Now then, how do we address the risk factor? We're looking at things like governance, we're looking at structure, and we're looking at how then we can scale the businesses that are here. Because most of the African institutions, the issue that they have is funding. So how does a partner like Pergamon come in to be able to give access to that funding while securing the funding and mitigating risk? Yeah. So I think governance and structure will play a pivotal role in actually attracting foreign investments coming back into the country.
Definitely. That really boosts that investor confidence. And we're seeing the change of narrative. Of course, unfortunately, we have so many risks. Every election here, like right now, it's 2026. Now everyone is worried what will happen in 2027, which it shouldn't be at this age and time. But those are some of the risks. But now, away from work, what's your favorite dish? If you're to eat one meal, they say from today, you're not changing anything. I was just giving you water in addition. What will that be and why?
I make a mean pilau. So pilau is my favorite dish. I make it quite often at home. Yeah, so that is definitely what I'll be doing, or rather having on my plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pilau. I tried making pilau from a recipe. That was something else. It wasn't pilau. But quite interesting right there. Before we resume this game, books. We believe that leaders are readers, and you have to be really up to par when it comes to reading opens your mind. For you, what is the most impactful piece of literature that you've interacted with and totally shifted how you see life and your approach to what you do?
Okay. I'd probably reference Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, coming from a woman who was leading quite a big organization, and in terms of her leadership style and how you work with the team that you have. And she speaks a lot into teamwork. So I think that's one of the books that has really impacted also how I work in my organization.
Most of the times as a CEO and as a leader, you're called to speak to people in different quarters, encourage them to invest. And on the issue of investment, is investment a product of you having finances to invest? Or is it a product of the discipline and culture to invest no matter the amount that you have in the Kenyan context?
The Kenyan context?
Yeah.
No, it's definitely about the principle. The principle backs investment. So if you have 100 shillings or if you have 1,000,000 shillings, you always have to apportion some of it into investments. And you build on that culture. It becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, it's inculcated in you. So it's always important from wherever you are to always build. It's one of the things I actually tell my daughter. If you have some pocket money, if you're gifted some money, some of it has to go into an investment. And that's how you build up on that habit, basically. Yeah.
Do you think as a country we have that habit?
We're learning. It's always a learning curve.
Yeah.
So we're learning.
Definitely. As we come to the tail end of this conversation, Gichuru, I mean, Yes, when you get an opportunity to speak to people, there are always those people who have a low-hanging quote that really inspired them, or it's easier, Like, for example, iron sharpens iron is one of the things that I go for. For you, what quote often comes top of mind when you are in social spaces speaking to people that you feel this is something that is worth telling somebody and hopefully it impacts them?
All right. One quote that I go back to quite often is, once you get past the fear of failing, what can't you do? What can't you achieve? And that gets me up every morning.
Going past the fear of failing. If you just get over it, what can't you do? Because you're not afraid to fail. A lot of us are afraid to fail.
Yeah, never be afraid to fail.
Yeah. Have you ever been afraid to fail?
Yeah, then you grow again.
Definitely.
Yeah, get over your fear of failing.
Yes, definitely. And as we close this up, I know the future is amazing. The future is beautiful. And looking at the investment space where you operate in, I'm trying to see in the Kenyan ecosystem and also globally, because right now we are a global village. Where is the investment landscape going? What are you foreseeing from Pergamon and somebody who's a leader within this organization? This is the direction where investment landscape is flowing towards.
Okay. I think at Pergamon, we just don't want to look at the numbers. We want to grow with these businesses. We want to grow in Africa. We want people to see Africa. We want to see the attractiveness of it. And I think that's where there are very many opportunities, vast opportunities, and we're seeing Africa growing. Mm-hmm. That's where we're seeing the landscape going.
Okay. In conclusion, if you're not doing what you're doing today, what will you be? Tennis player?
No, I would be running a restaurant. I'll be a chef. I'd be a chef running a restaurant by the beach.
Really?
Yes.
You've thought this through, yeah? Quite interesting. Why? Is it your second passion? Have you run a restaurant?
I love the culinary arts. Mm-hmm. So I do love cooking. Like I told you, pilau. Mm-hmm. And I love the beach. So I would want at some point to fuse the two and probably have a paddle court there as well.
I see that. There you have it. Wanjiru Gichuru. She says that if she wasn't the CEO of Pergamon, guess what she'll be doing? She'll have opened a restaurant specializing in pilau by the beachside with a paddle court right there. This is the power. But what she's very passionate about, she says that you don't have to do it alone. Somebody can hold your hand and help you navigate in whichever career you are in. So seek mentorship intentionally. And when you are grown, also find a way to mentor somebody. Overall, she's very pro-Africa. Africa is the place to invest in. And they say that they're making sure that that money is put right here on the continent because it offers the highest return globally. So we are moving well. For now, that's been our conversation right here on Captain of Industry. My name is Dokip Kimboy. Guess what? I'll go back to paddling. Bye-bye.